Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our episodes of Mexican-American Latino Lens live podcast. I'm Yasmin, a big movie lover, and I'm joined by Dr. Luis Ruiz, who is an author, director, dentist, and the founder of both the Mexican-American Cultural Education Foundation as well as Dr. Ruiz Productions. Dr. Ruiz, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good and happy to be here today. We have a really special documentary that we're going to be talking about today, and of course we're going to meet the talented producer, director, which is very impressive, Patricia Nazario. And this is a project that is very, very close to our heart because it just so happens that we not too long ago we shot a film about a fruit vendor. So we really, really value the people that a lot of times are ignored out there. Our community members of all Latin Americans. They're working hard, and instead of appreciation, often they don't get that. They get the opposite. So I love this project. It's very, very exciting. But let's start by having a little clip where we can see the breadth of this project, because I think when you hear this, you're going to understand how serious this is, especially who is speaking to us.
We didn't see the whole food truck revolution coming. There were all these trucks jumping on the bandwagon.
Food trucks, love them, enjoy it.
No napkins needed. I'm like,
they're the new gourmet restaurants. And for people who can't afford a lot of money, this is like the best way to try different things.
Wonderful, except it's all running down my very expensive Hermes scarf.
Open it up. You guys have won the Great Food Truck Race.
And I don't think we realized the impact television would have. And we basically parked in front of the bar in NoHo, and there was a line that went about 3 blocks down.
Hola, chica!
Now there are two factions of this industry. But the conundrum is these two different types of trucks don't operate in the same way.
Clemente, ¿cuántos años tengo que te conozco? Ajá. Más.
Estamos en un problema muy crucial de las cosas que se están avecinando.
you really need to park right here.
You know you're not supposed to sit here.
Are you making bacon? Can you close your vents?
The trucks that's already been out there that's run by mostly Mexicans or Latinos, I wonder how this gourmet thing has been affecting their business.
Well, there you go. This is a great story, you know. So I'm gonna have my wonderful co-host, who is a film lover, and I know she saw this documentary. Tell us a little bit about this. What you liked about the story.
Well, I just really loved how impactful it was, and like how eye-opening it is, because you see these food trucks everywhere and you see these people constantly on the streets, but you don't really know the story behind them. So to kind of get this behind the scenes look to people's everyday lives was really, really cool. And I also really liked the animation aspects in the documentary. I thought that was very interesting because I feel like I walked away with learning something new. But it was entertaining, so it wasn't just a bunch of facts getting thrown at me. But it just was really, really fun to see and watch. And you just really learn a lot just about your community.
So now is the time to introduce Patricia Nazario, the filmmaker who is responsible for making this wonderful film. I mean, first of all, she's a great filmmaker, with highly educated, from Columbia University with a BA at UCLA. Lots and lots of awards in the press club, the Golden Mike, and the LA City Council. So we know that we're dealing with a very, very serious filmmaker, and we're very, very excited to have you today, Patricia. Thank you for being here. And my first question to you is, how did you come out with this idea? Because there's an unusual story, right? To talk about food trucks. How did you come out with this idea?
Yeah, that's a layered question. And first, I just want to say thank you for having me, Dr. Ruiz and Yasmina. It's been awesome dealing with you guys and getting everything ready for today. So thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. So the way I came up with the idea is a little layered. First, like the top layers, I was a reporter at that time at KPCC, and we were doing something they call Monday morning quarterbacking in news. It's like, hey, LA Times has this thing that they did. We have to go out to Wilshire and do something. So they sent me out to Wilshire, and I got what you see in the film now is like this very tense situation, like a turf war that's unfolding. Nobody quite knew what to make of it as it was happening. It was like, well, this is so weird, and all these weird elements were happening. So I went out and I got that bit, and I just came back. And what struck me was I went to Paramount High School. And if you know anything about Paramount back in the day, it's heavy immigrant community. It's nestled between Downey, Southgate, Linwood, Compton, over almost to Long Beach. So I had that impression of a food truck that's on the same corner night after night for years. I grew up, I went to high school in that community. So when I was on Wilshire Boulevard, of course, it harkened back to my teenage years. And I was like, wow, why is it so cool now when it wasn't cool back then? And that's what I went back to the newsroom with. And I said, I think you guys are missing the point. Like, I feel like, yeah, this is something happening here, but I tried to explain the historical aspect, and they said put it in a memo. Was a reply I got, and I never did. Instead of that, I just resigned about 3 months later and took it on myself.
Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the reality is that their stories are not of great interest, to Hollywood and to the main media. So, I think filmmakers find the same experience when they try to, sell their screenplays or the stories to Hollywood. There's never much interest, and it's always the polite answer, just like how you got, right? Write a memo,
yeah,
a polite answer. You know what? Let us look into it, and then you never hear from them. So it is such but you know what? I really strikes me of what you're telling us right now. The story that you're telling us is that you grew up seeing food trucks around you, and mostly were Latino, Mexican food, and they were usually not look in as with fairness. In other words, they were kind of looked down upon by the rest of the world. But then all of a sudden, you're a bunch of years later, you're in Wilshire Boulevard, a wealthy neighborhood, and now you see a struggle where other people they think that they invented food trucks, right? And that that it belongs to them. So I love that about your documentary, that it really kind of like takes us to a journey of understanding the beginning of the story, right? And it's something that, I mean, while I was watching it, I had no clue that there was such a tough turf war when it comes to positioning of your truck. And of course, usually unfortunately our community loses when there's that type of clash. But another question that I have for you, and do we have the clip with Dolores Huerta speaking to us?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I would like to hear that, because that's something that is very important. So let's play it.
Hello, I'm Dolores Huerta, and I want to congratulate Patricia, Nazario,
and her production team for making this wonderful documentary about the loncheros. Backstreet to the American Dream tells the experience of immigrants and how they fulfill our lives here in the United States of America. They figure out a brand new way of not only being able to make a living in the United States, but also being of service to the community. Now in California, Los Angeles, in some of the ritzier parts of town, they have copied these loncheros, these immigrant families, but we can remember where the idea originated. It originated with these families that contribute so much to the vitality of the United States of America. Si se puede, they can do it. It can be done. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. You know, I mean, the fact that Dolores Huerta is behind your documentary, and not only that, she's an executive producer, right? That's quite impressive. And in the her introduction to the documentary is also very, very telling. I mean, it really makes it tells the story so well and just so eloquently in such a small amount of time. Now, I have a question for you. How do you get Dolores Huerta to work with you?
So I had the pleasure of meeting her for her birthday event / celebration for the Medal of Freedom. And it wasn't until years later I had begun editing. I didn't have a budget, so I couldn't pay anybody to edit. I had to learn how to edit. So backstory, I had worked as a one-man band TV reporter and radio reporter. So I kind of had fundamental skills. So I took it on myself. And years later down the road, I was coming to the end of the editing process, looking at festivals, and we get all this advice, right, as filmmakers, especially first time out. You'll get people saying you need a name, you need a composer, you need something, right, that's going to grab people. And so just a story about food trucks didn't quite work either, because it's so layered. It's really, food trucks just sort of provide the landscape for the conversation. And so yeah, with all that advice, I circled back and just reached out, and yeah, we just had a few conversations. I sent over some materials, and she said yeah, she loved it. So that was it.
Congratulations. I mean, this should be a lesson to be learned by many of our filmmakers, and not only filmmakers, but anybody in in the world. And we need to be brave, and we need to be proactive, and reach out and take a risk. And you took a risk on speaking with somebody that's extremely busy, is extremely popular, and I'm sure to get her to listen to you is not particularly easy, but you did it. So congrats, because it brings some gravitas to your documentary. Nevertheless, your documentary is phenomenal. It's very comprehensive, very complete in regards to the story of our very, very valuable the people that feed us. And sometimes we forget that. We forget the while they're making a living, they are also giving us the opportunity to eat when we're hungry, in the place where we're hungry. Sometimes those people that have drinks in really hot areas, they sweat all day so that we can have a nice cold drink. Those street vendors, they do such a service to our community. And again, it's nice that you actually made a film about them. So how long did it take you to make this? I mean, it looks like it took you a long time. You did a lot of work on this documentary.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. It was about 10 years. We had our world premiere
10 years.
Yeah. And
wow.
I will say that another thing about Dolores Huerta is I reached out during COVID, so maybe that helped. But yeah, it was maybe around June of COVID. So the following year, 21, is when we had our world premiere in June. I think I reached out, early 21. So all that to say, yeah, it took about 10 years from the conversation in the newsroom to our world premiere. And it was largely because I learned on the job. You know, I had a consultant, and I will say, if you know, we're funding our own projects, right? We're wearing multiple hats. We're just trying to pull it off, especially a documentary feature, any feature. They're extremely intense. The one investment I did made, and I think that for me really paid off, was having a consultant. And that consultant was phenomenal. It was his idea to do the animation, Yasmin, that you talked about. He said, because we were talking about this idea of the history of street food, and obviously these immigrants are bringing it from their homeland, right? That's the whole point of street food vendors. It's so varied because it comes from someplace else. And how can you do that without beating somebody over the head with a bunch of facts and boring statistics, or, you know, just more like a talking head? And so my consultant said an animation, and I had no idea what that meant, or I mean, I had done segment producing. I could do it, but I didn't know how to start. So I went to Cal State Northridge, and I approached one of the scholars there in the Chicano Studies department. And I just showed up at his office hours. And then I started going to his office hours, and he started giving me instruction. Look at this codex, look at that codex, read this book. And then, by the way, what kind of music are you going to get? And I was like, I don't know, what's on YouTube? And he said, no, not YouTube. You have to use this kind of music. And he put me in touch with the musician who scored it. So yeah, it was that kind of a process. I just, you know, bootstrapping myself. But the one investment that paid off was the consultant. And not just that, when it came to the festival circuit, he was key. He was key in getting us into the first festival where we had our world premiere with Dances with Films, which is a premiere festival here in Los Angeles.
So Northridge, this is Yasmin's alma mater.
Yeah, that's where I went.
Awesome. Did you take any classes in the Chicano Studies department?
I took one, but it was more like public speaking.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like more business focused. I wasn't like in a lot of cultural studies.
Yeah, same here. I worked with Fermin, Dr. Fermin Herrera, I think is his last name.
Fermin Herrera.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. So all of that animation.
Well, kudos to Dr. Herrera, or to Professor Herrera. Yeah,
that's
right. He helped you so much.
Yeah, that animation took 3 years to do.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I mean, it was really well done, though. It was really fun to watch.
Oh, good.
I guess it was worth it that it took 3 years, huh? So tell us about your world premiere. A little bit about that. When did that happen? Where? How was that?
Oh, it was so fun. It was gratifying, you know, after so much.
After 10 years of work, wow.
Crying on the, you know, at the dinner table over a glass of wine, wondering if I could keep going. It was just exhausting. And so to get into Dances with Films was phenomenal. And I just felt like I had found my tribe. And so we sold out, which was great. And we had an encore screening. So we had 2 screenings that year, and we were the only film to do that year. But it was amazing. Just that festival experience, you know, they treat their filmmakers so well. They have a filmmaker lounge. They have industry conversations. You're mixing with other filmmakers. They have like a massive swag section. So there's just swag from all of these different films. In 21, when we premiered, it was just fresh out of COVID. I mean, we were just like on the heels of COVID. And we probably had about, I want to say 7 days. I think it was 7 days long. And I think now they're back up to 10 days, that festival. Yeah, but it was great. And then that just started it. It was amazing. We went from Dances with Films to New York for Workers Unite Festival. We went to Newport Beach, Sonoma, Paris. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, well deserved, because oh my gosh, that commitment that you showed on your you know, to create such a you know, such a comprehensive documentary, it deserves a lot of attention, and we want to make sure that our friends go see it. And you know, Yasmin, in a little bit, she's going to tell us more of the details of how that's going to be able to happen for our friends. So we want to know we want to know more about you, Patricia. We want to know a little bit about your background. How did you become a filmmaker? Did your family encourage you to do that? So tell us a little bit about how do you become a filmmaker?
So for me, I was a daily news reporter and pretty much loving life. And then I just got this idea and, just had to weigh it. I think I've always been a person who's pretty introspective. And so even though working in news was fulfilling, there was always that something else. And that's kind of why I ended up at Columbia for graduate school. I was working as a TV news reporter, but it was just kind of just scratching the surface. And I just thought I wanted to do something more, and got accepted into Columbia. I was the class of 9/11. And so that happened. Yeah. And then, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so you were already a reporter, and then you felt the need to go back to school because a lot of people would feel very satisfied just being already a reporter, right? Because you crave more.
I was doing TV news, and it didn't feel rich enough. I can't really explain it. And so I pushed on and went back to graduate school, class of 9/11. We were focusing on radio when that happened. So I ended up doing radio stories about 9/11 my entire Columbia stay. And for NPR, that's how I got connected with NPR. And then when I graduated, this is another thing I think for our community that hit me like a ton of bricks. So being Puerto Rican, I think unlike other communities like Cubans, I was always really jealous of, because they're really good at almost like they kind of vacuum seal their culture. They hold on to their language and they're good at that. Puerto Ricans, not so much. And so my sister and I were first generation, lost Spanish out the gate. And I never really thought twice about it. Even as a working reporter in Los Angeles, it wasn't like Spanish was a requirement. And so I was in graduate school at Columbia, and I had a pretty hard lesson. I looked around, we were a class of maybe 200, and most of them spoke another language, at least a second language. And then we had about maybe 30% of our class was from overseas. So that group, say like 60 people.
Wow.
That group of about 60 people spoke multiple languages, right? Because you're talking about people from Europe or Pakistan or whatever, and they spoke several languages. And that's what was like a light bulb went off for me. I was like, wow. At no point was I ever taught to value my own culture, my grandparents' language, Puerto Rican authors, or the history of Puerto Rico, or, what does the flag mean? None of those questions. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was at Columbia, and I had like a CD set of Spanish on the go that I bought at Costco or Price Club, whatever it was back in the day. And I had that with me. And early on, a few weeks, maybe a couple months into my Columbia work in graduate school, I just said, that's it. I'm going to listen to those CDs every day. So every day when I exercised, I had a Discman from back in the day.
You took a new love to your culture.
Absolutely. I was
as
like,
an adult.
If I can learn words to a song, I can learn Spanish. And so instead of listening to music, I would put the Discman and the headphones and go work out. And then when I finished, I moved to Argentina, and that's how I learned Spanish.
Oh, well, I think your story is a common story for Latinos in this country because for a long time, the community at large looked down if we spoke Spanish, right? So a lot of our parents, would tell you don't speak Spanish,
right?
And I know a lot of people that weren't even taught any Spanish. So it is an unfortunate situation that happens to our culture. We Latinos in this country have a complex history. And that's one of the things that our nonprofit organization, the Mexican-American Cultural Education Foundation, has been trying to do to bring attention to all of those things that people are just not aware of, you know. So it's very exciting. So were you born in Puerto Rico or were you born in New York?
In New York.
In New York, okay,
New York.
okay.
First
And
generation.
so you started the story when you were already a reporter. Now we want to know before that. We want to know where did the love for telling stories, and you know, obviously, if you're a reporter, you're a storyteller as well. I mean, you're trying to, you know, so going back to who you know as a kid, who told you to do that, and you know.
Yeah, I don't really have that. I can tell you my first journalism class, I went to CSUN too, Yasmin, for 2 years
Oh, really?
out of Paramount High School. I went to CSUN, and my second year, I took my first journalism class, and that was it. I knew I was in love. And I remember the first story I read in that journalism class. It was a first person perspective, and it was a reporter going to a pickle factory or pickle farm. And the whole description of getting to the pickle factory and walking up, like checking in with the manager or the guy who ran it, following him up these windy stairs to like a massive water tank that you see right when you come into a new town, and it has the town's name, a massive water tank. And the man leans over and he moves the lid ever so slightly over and reaches down. She said, "Flies are coming out." And it was so rank and stinky. He reaches out and he pulls out a pickle and he says, "Here, taste it." And
Well,
she
yeah.
and just went on to say it was like the best pickle she ever had. But that story, I don't know, just something was magical about all that. And that was it. I never wanted to do anything else. I transferred to UCLA, and that's probably why I pushed my education so much as well, because I felt like I wanted to be taken seriously. I wanted to be a reporter with all my heart. And that was the only thing I ever wanted to do. And so I just kept pushing myself with the education.
Well, congratulations. You've done very well.
Thank you.
So now tell us a little bit. You know what? We have another clip, right?
Yes.
Actually, even a little more about this documentary. So why don't we have our engineer Michaela play that clip? That's going to be a little longer, right?
Yes.
So let's.
The second clip.
Okay. Well, let's play the second clip and let's see.
Que no sabíamos exactamente qué hacer. The struggle of civil rights is very clear. That's easy to say just a taco truck because it's cold, it's a vehicle, it's an instrument. And when you say taco truck, you just think of that car, but there's real people inside.
People that stand to be marginalized, like the law in 2008 that the LA County Board of Supervisors passed, for instance.
I think that clip is going faster than usual.
Like double time.
Yeah, somehow it's playing fast.
We have a number of people who have requested to speak.
Okay, our engineer. For some reason, it's going faster.
Y ahí es cuando yo me involucré en la lucha para los derechos de los boxeadores.
Let's see if we can. We'll just play it.
People who've asked to speak. I'm going to ask that everyone limit their speaking to 1 minute, and if it has to be translated, it'll be 2 minutes.
Filmmaking is so complicated, and you know, sometimes things just take their own shape. Thank you, bro. You know, let's prepare for the next one so those things go faster. Nevertheless, this little clip, we got a chance to see a double speed, the struggle that our community has had to be able to put those food trucks in the street, right? Again, as you said before, you know, they you know, many of them they are looked down, and a lot of people don't even want to have them. So, you know, our community has had to deal with having their trucks put away, even being on your documentary. You have somebody talking about that if they didn't fulfill the perfect rules or something, they could get misdemeanors. And if they do it again, they could get jail time. I mean, they were treated like criminals. And again, you know, but many years later, now, you know, people are having this fancy food trucks and treated like very special, which is sometimes it's a little upsetting how there's always this two very different
Double
treatments for
standards.
people, those double standards, right?
Double standard, yeah. Yeah. So what you're talking about is back in the day, they used to call them roach coaches, right? That's the environment I grew up in. And what this clip shows is it's just this buried clip, never saw the light of day. No one knew about the struggles with the mostly immigrant population, except for people who watch Spanish media. But people who just watch mainstream American English media really didn't understand, had no concept of what was happening, not that they didn't understand it. So when I first started telling people about this film I wanted to make, it was an early interview and someone said, "Oh, is that what you want to talk about? Then you need to go and find this clip of the supervisors meeting." And I think he gave me a year and maybe like a ballpark time frame. And I remember it took a while to find it. I would like fall asleep at night going through their logs.
Oh, wow.
I had to go through the logs and maybe I found one or two of them, maybe three that kind of hinted about, parking regulations, street vendors, stuff like that. This is, I think, 2008. That clip is early on.
It's 2008, yes.
Yeah. So it was, and when I got it, it was like a thumbnail resolution, so I had to have it blown up. That's why it's so blurry. But yeah, I had to dig it out literally. And then back in the day when I did that, I got CDs in the mail. So I had to send out like $10 for each CD that I thought maybe was it. And then bingo, I got it. Yeah. So
even more impressed. I'm even more impressed, Patricia. Wow, that's a lot of commitment to really dig that one up. But that's a little jewel right there, because it really tells. It really you see the reality of what the struggle, and how it was an organized attack on this community and those loncheros.
Yeah. And what was happening back then was Gloria Molina was leading the charge. And I think that's when you see them testifying or, having their public comment section and they're taking her on directly. They're like, look, I voted for you. Like, why are you doing this to us now? And so, back then, Gloria Molina had a vision for Los Angeles. Los Angeles was not the LA we see today. It wasn't quite mature. We didn't have such a restaurant scene, so many chefs, at Michelin star, and it didn't have the cachet. And she wanted that. She loved the city very much and wanted that, but her vision didn't include the food trucks. Like she saw them as kind of dragging down, right, the perception of Los Angeles. And I think she was very involved with the restaurant scene and her husband and all this stuff. So it was her mission.
Wow, that's tough. Yeah. Very, 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 very good. I mean, again, kudos to your commitment to tell the story, right?
Thank you.
So tell us, what are you working on now? What obviously you're so talented. I'm sure you have some things in your, on the works.
That's sweet. Thank you. A couple of things. I will say, we're super excited. We just did a public impact campaign, which was phenomenal, exhausting, but phenomenal. We did it at Gardena Cinema and I worked on it for almost 5 months. And, when you have a documentary, public impact is basically when you take it public facing and you do an event to bring up the conversation, right? It's that call to action. And so we did that. We made a day-long event. We made it a day to celebrate Latina filmmakers. So we had 3 blocks, blocks of short films by Latina filmmakers. We had a panel conversation, a panel discussion, and we ended the evening with my film. So it started at 11 and went through 9 p.m. And it was a lot of work, but it was phenomenal. Our panel discussion included Jose Hernandez, who's the NASA astronaut, who's, the life story of A Million Miles Away. So he was the inspiration for that story. He was on the panel. And we also wanted to do something that was authentic. So we partnered with Public Counsel. Public Counsel is a nonprofit that does a lot of pro bono work for immigrant families, especially right now. offering advocacy and legal representation. And so we got the lead attorney from the Immigrants' Rights Project to be on our panel. And we just had this conversation about how Hollywood portrays Latinos and the urgent need for us filmmakers, storytellers, to take our narrative back.
Exactly. Well, that's you know, definitely this is what this organization and this podcast and everything that we do is all about you know, being able to share our story, because otherwise Hollywood has erased us for decades, for 100 years, and it's time that we start actually showing up, because we contribute so much, just like Dolores Huerta said at the beginning of that introduction of your documentary, right? All the contributions that we've done, they're never acknowledged.
I actually have a question. I think, like, just from speaking with you, you seem like much of like a go-getter, and you don't let like obstacles kind of stop you. But I just wanted to ask, like, what advice would you have for other filmmakers or other journalists that are pursuing a story or trying to tell a story, and they're faced with a lot of barriers? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, you have to just kind of take the barriers one by one. I think for me, the biggest one was setting myself up for success. It was a huge compromise. When I quit my job, I had to leave my apartment. I moved in with my sister, where I still live to this day. So it's been, as you can imagine, a long haul, and she's been very kind for having me. So I think you have to take them one step at a time, but I think initially setting yourself up for success, right? Because it's easy to say, but I don't want to give up my apartment, but I don't want to, you know. So one has to reconcile those things with oneself. I don't know that I would do it again. If I knew everything I would have had to do to get to this point, I probably would have been like, oh no, thank you. but you know, I think it's different. Everybody's journey is different. I think just staying positive. I had to teach myself at every turn. So I kind of just took whatever was in front of me and had to learn that. When it came time to edit the film, I had to teach myself how to tell long form storytelling. I didn't know how to do that. My longest story in news was like 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes for NPR. And that was 5 minutes. I did one when I worked at the Miami Herald. I did like a piece about the Mario boat lift anniversary, and it won a state award. But that one was like 5 minutes. So let's say that was my longest story. So to go from that structure to a 90-minute, and to have your first, second acts, right, and your climax, and then the fall of the main character, and then the rebuild, I didn't know any of that. So yeah, it's tough. I would just say eat an elephant one bite at a time, and just be kind to yourself. Try and set yourself up.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we would like to do our little segment. We have a segment called rapid fire questions, and because being that it's a short podcast, and we want to be able to like maybe get some information about, we like to get a little more personal or in fun, and be able so our audience know more about you, so we'll do that. So let's start with Yasmin.
Okay, so my quick question is, what is your fave food to get from a food truck?
Just to blow you off your seat, I'm a vegetarian. So for me, it's probably the sauce. No. Yeah, I don't really eat the food, except if it's mariscos, like Mariscos Jalisco. I love his tostadas with the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I love spicy, and I love sauces, so that's probably it for me.
Lovely. All right, Doctor, it's your turn.
Yeah. Who is your favorite director?
I would say probably, my favorite storyteller, someone who inspired me a lot, who's no longer with us, is the one that did Super Size Me. What is his name? He passed a couple of years ago. Hold on, I can tell you.
I forgot his name. I know who you're talking about, but I saw his whole documentary.
Yeah, this guy. Oh, Morgan Spurlock.
well.
Is one. I think more so than a particular person, it was kind of more themey for me. I've always been into like food documentaries, Food Inc., stuff like that. Anything about health or food. This one, The Super Size Me, also the just things about health. I've just been interested in, I think, ways to make our world better, and storytelling just seemed to be a way to do that.
It's a very good one.
My next question is, do you have a secret talent?
My secret talent probably is sailing. I'm a sailor, and I love it. I haven't been able to get my captain's license because I'm just, I don't have the time just yet, but I'm on track to do that. That's probably my secret talent. I'm also a sailing instructor, so yeah.
Oh, wow. Impressive.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you like cats or dogs? And do you have one?
Oh, funny. I had a basset hound for most of the filmmaking process, and he passed a year before our launch. And so the last year was kind of lonely. But we have a family dog now, and we also have a cat who adopted our family. So the answer is yes. And yes, it's my first cat. He's mostly outside. He comes inside and hangs out with me in the edit bay. But yeah, yes and yes.
Cool. Well, it's time. It's unfortunately the time has run very, very fast, and we must say goodbye. But before we do that, we want to have Yasmin give us a little bit of information about how our audience can learn more about you, and also learn more about how to see your amazing documentary.
Well, you can get all the information on this film at backstreetfilm.com, and there you can find all the bios of everyone that worked on this beautiful film, as well as like the social media accounts. So I'd really recommend visiting that website. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us on this episode of Mexican-American Latino Lens Live podcast, where we spotlight the brilliance, resilience, and creativity of Latino creators in film, TV, and beyond. And I just want to remind everyone to not forget to subscribe to Dr. Ruiz Productions on YouTube, and also to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And thank you guys for watching.
Well, thank you. And Patricia, we're impressed.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure. Thank you for being with us, and until next time.